Matt, what are you hoping to get out of this closed session today?
Same thing we do every day. Get a little bit better. No, so I feel some resentment with that closed remark. It's my fault. Initially, this was going to be a jog-through day, but we changed the schedule earlier this week after family night. Felt like we needed another day to kind of recover, and so we did the walkthrough or the jog-through that day. I want to say, was that Sunday? Yeah, it was Sunday. And so we made today more of an up-tempo. Now we're only going to be out there for about an hour and a half. So it's a little bit lighter volume-wise, and then tomorrow we can go back to close to 2 hours.
Who decides what the one-on-one matchups are for like wide receivers and DBs? And do you put Romeo against Jair yesterday for the first time to maybe humble him a little bit after the start he's had?
No, I think, first of all, within our team, we always highlight and we make it a competitive period and show it to the whole group, to the whole team in the team meeting. But no, certainly you want your better players going against one another because that's how they get better. And, you know, I'll tell you what, our DBs, they came to play yesterday. All of them. They looked really good yesterday, and it just sometimes it just works itself out in terms of who's matching up with who.
Matt, is that something you've always done as far as playing that for the team, or is that something over time that you kind of developed that idea?
Oh, we've been doing it for a couple of years now.
Yesterday, Jordan's group with the 2-minute offense, and he's moving the ball, and he clocks it, and he gets it all set up, and it results so with the pick from Nixon. What happened on that play? You know, it looks like you can see Jordan's growth in that situation, but what were his options on that last play?
Well, there wasn't many. The ball had to go to the end zone, and there's 5 seconds left, and so you're taking one final heave to the end zone, and he tried to fit it in a really tight window, and our defense did a nice job. Keyshawn stayed home, and the result was the result. But there was a couple other mistakes within that play where guys weren't totally doing the correct assignment, and certainly you need everybody to give yourself the best opportunity to go down and score. But I did think Jordan handled, that 2-minute situation pretty well.
How are you going to tailor the practices this week with, maybe the starters aren't going to play on Friday, so maybe they need to get extra work, but you also need to get those guys who are going to play some extra work. It seems like there's a lot to get done and maybe not a ton of time.
Yeah, that's just one of those things that you try to balance in the preseason, especially game week. So tomorrow we'll have, I would say, a pretty normal practice, and then we'll dismiss the guys that aren't playing a little bit early, get them out of here, and then we'll have an install for the Niners in a evening walkthrough to allow those guys that are playing, give them the best chance to go out there and have success.
Are you doing more stuff in the team periods now that's like less scripted now that you're out of the install part of it? Are you seeing more of like the natural reaction of guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see even more of that today. I think we have one scripted period, and then, I take that back. 2 of the 4 periods are scripted. One of them is more of a situational deal, but we'll have 2 unscripted periods. And I do think it's definitely more difficult this time of the year because you have such a massive playbook that is open on both sides of the ball, and you're not always quite sure. We try to preview it with our guys as best as possible, but you're not always quite sure what's going to come, and so it kind of keeps the guys on their toes a little bit. It gets definitely more dialed in during a game week when you have just exactly what you're going to do out of the exact formations. So I think this time of the year is always the most challenging for especially our younger players.
Matt, what do you thought about Jarron and just kind of what he's given you guys so far out of the gate, at the first week of pads?
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. He definitely has shown up both in the run and the pass. You can't have enough pass rushers in this league, and I think right now you're seeing just the cumulative effect of our front has been doing a really nice job, really in each group. whether it's the ones or the twos. So they've done a nice job. I think J-Mo and Rebs have done a great job. We seem pretty coordinated up front, and hopefully that'll be a big benefit come season.
Matt, in an ideal world, how many receivers would you like to end up carrying?
Every year's a little bit different. You're trying to get me to tip our hand and how many we're going to try to keep?
I know it's like 12.
Yeah, I mean every year's different. It just you want to keep your best players. You know, I say regardless of position, but you know, sometimes the more depth you have, the bigger of a challenge that is. So I think it's a very competitive situation right now with our receiving core, and looking forward to getting into these preseason games to watch that kind of play out.
Those guys in like the 6, 7, 8 spots, what can they do to sort of separate themselves from each other?
I think it's going to be how they go out there and play, the effort that they play with, their contribution on special teams certainly is going to play a big factor, and then just, you know, going out there, focusing, doing their 1/11th and making plays.
Do grades get spiked in preseason performances more than a practice film would?
Well, I think you know, you don't want to discount the practice tape, but I think just it's a little bit human nature to how they perform, kind of when the lights are truly on, when it's a competitive situation. I think there might be a little bit more value to that, but you can't discount what they've done over and what we've seen on a daily basis.
Going back to Wes's D-line question, you know, for quite a while it's been Kenny and Dean up front. You know, there's been a smattering of contributions here and there, but now that you've got Jarron, you know, TJ still seems like he's really taking a big step, and you got Devontae at 5 deep. What does that do for you guys to have such a deep rotation there?
Well, I think it allows you to roll those guys, and I think just, you know, from an offensive perspective, it's much more difficult when you have a fresh D-line coming at you play after play after play, and I think our guys are doing a great job, giving great effort on every play you see. I don't know if you guys notice it, but I've noticed it, a noticeable difference in just how we finish on the ball carrier. You're seeing all guys, whether you're, you know, on the back side of the play, front side, wherever you are, linebacker, DB, defensive lineman, they are running to the football. And I think, you know, hopefully great things happen when you do run, and, you know, you kind of, I love how Rich phrases roll call to the ball. You know, you get all the bodies in the picture, and if you get 11 guys finishing at the ball, I think good things are bound to happen.
So Matt, when you go into a game like Friday, do you want to load up Jordan with a lot of the things that, you know, maybe Aaron would do in a game to try to push him like that, or does that screw everything up for everybody else because you get so many young guys who probably aren't in tune with a lot of the changes and calls and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because first of all, you want to put your players in the best possible position to go out there and have success. Yet you're not spending a ton of time game planning. You're kind of going through, and obviously we've got a lot of familiarity with each other, having played so many times over the last couple of years. But I think that it is a little bit of a balance of how much do you really want to show, you know, how complex do you want to get, because you want those guys ultimately to go out there and play fast. And so that is always, I think, the balance from a coaching standpoint is how much do you truly put in. Certainly gave the quarterbacks you know, a preliminary sheet just to look over and make sure they're comfortable with everything that we're going to ask them to do. And then if, you know, we're always receptive to if there's something that they really like, to potentially put that in as well. So we'll give our guys probably tomorrow just, you know, the final call sheet.
Matt, we saw Aaron get after Josh pretty good yesterday, and Josh mentioned it in the locker room that it was over communicating the protection call. Is that specific? You've got Aaron Rodgers kind of problem, because I would think over communication would be a good thing, but it didn't seem.
Yeah, it just depends what you're communicating. You know, because sometimes these guys are smart on both sides of the ball, and sometimes the more you communicate, the more information the other side has. So that is, again, it's a fine line of when you do it, when you don't do it. Certainly, if you don't have everybody on the same page, you don't have any chance whatsoever. So I would say that in most instances, I would rather them over-communicate than not. But again, it's just one of those things that you go through each and every day. There's going to be plays like that.
What has been the most surprising part for you in the progression of Josh Newman, being an undrafted guy to now one of the most experienced on the line?
Yeah, I just think going out there last year and playing at a high level, he was pretty consistent, and he's grown a lot since when we first got here, and that's a great credit to everybody in that room, with Steno and Butkus and just the veteran offensive lineman taking him under his wing, and you can see the talent right when he got here. There's not too many guys that are that big, that are that athletic, that can run like he can, and it's just, a lot of it, his growth has been between the years, and just making sure you know what to do so you can use that athleticism to your benefit.
Are you any closer to figuring out who your right tackle would be if Josh has to play left tackle this year?
No, we're not right now. So we're hoping that that'll kind of sort itself out over the next couple weeks.
Were you kind of hoping to be there at this point, or do you expect that to go usually to the end?
Come on, Stu, no expectations, man.